So the purpose of this meeting is to try to set up a new station for analysis with Vesper. It assumes that you're already going to begin this project where you've already recorded some WAV files, and these WAV files have gone overnight, and you know what time the recordings were made, and we can import them into Vesper to try to analyze them quickly, so you don't have to sit through long periods of silence, and you can really sort through the spectrograms and identify them visually rather quickly. There's a bit of a learning curve for getting this set up, and so I've written out some instructions. The format that they're in now is a little bit sketchy. The official instructions are a little bit thinner and assume a little bit more background knowledge. I'm trying to make a video that will help people who might get to this instructions page and not quite know how to do it. So I'm going to explain what to do. This video, I'm not going to explain how to download Anaconda, which is a way of installing the Python meat of the program that Vesper uses, but I'm going to assume that you can follow the instructions for downloading and installing Anaconda, and that by the time that you try to run this tutorial, you already have the Anaconda prompt built in, and you're ready to start trying to install a new environment and install Vesper within that environment and give it some audio files to start analyzing. And somewhere along the way, I will break down and fail, and we'll figure out what I need to do to tutor others if I don't know how to do it all myself. But these bits here that are in blocks, these are the code that you feed to the Anaconda prompt. And let's say that we want to create one. I actually already have one, so I'm going to give this another name. I'll call this tutorial 1, and this is going to be creating a new Anaconda environment with Python 3.6. And hopefully it asks you if you're happy with this. You don't have to add _tutorial1, you just have Vesper 0.4.8. You say yes, and it will start to set up some stuff. Now you need to activate this environment. So you're going to say conda activate, and most of you guys will just write Vesper-0.4.8. But I'm going to add, since I have more, this version. Okay. So now we've done this activation, and now we are going to do an installation, and this will take a few minutes, and you will be downloading a bunch of stuff from the internet, so it helps to have good Wi-Fi. So it is finding a whole bunch of pieces of software that Vesper needs to analyze the audio files and do the machine learning bird identification techniques. And so it's collecting all these dependencies, these pieces of software that it may need. And so we just sit and watch it going along and doing its thing. We've been doing a few of these steps that are written out here. In a minute, we are going to have to decide where we want the folders that will have the specific settings and information about our station. I'm going to put mine on my desktop, and so you have to find out what is the path to your desktop. If you have a folder on your desktop and you open it up, you should be able to copy that path. For example, I have this nuthatch folder on my desktop, and when I click in the Windows thing, it actually shows me the full thing. Of course, I don't want the nuthatch folder. I just want this. So I will copy that, and I will change directory. It's gathered everything. Now it's actually installing them locally. Look at all these packages that are working together as a team to make Vesper work. But in a minute, when it gives me my command line back again, I will type CD for change directory, and I'll set desktop as my directory. So I will paste that in there in a moment. Another thing that you have to think of is what's going to be the name of your station. And I've worked on one called Crumrine, and next I'm going to work on another one called Kastner's. So I'll try Kastner's in this environment, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so I'm going to change the directory, and I don't want that to be my directory. I want my directory to be my desktop. And I'm going to copy this, Control C, and I'm going to paste it. I don't want it to be in the nuthatch folder, so I'll get rid of nuthatch. So I'm going to do Vesper _admin create archive, and then I'm going to put in the name of my station. So Vesper admin create archive, and then I'm going to name my station, and I'm going to name this station Kastner. It creates a new folder, and inside this new folder, it has a bunch of stuff. And some of the stuff that it's got includes a place where I can specify my recordings. Now, if you try to open this file, your computer might not know how to open it. You might have to say open with Notepad. If you have Notepad++ like I do, that's a nice way to do it. But the more important challenge is how do we set up the station information? So I'm doing one station here, and this one station file is to be found inside the metadata YAML folder. And once you get in there, it has an example based on Ithaca, and you put in your own name for your station. And you are to put information about this location. Latitude and longitude are extremely important to fix. So, how do you get that right? I happen to have a location that is already an eBird hotspot. And I should be able to get pretty decent latitude and longitude coordinates off of the Google Maps spot. Oops. I thought I was going to go to Google Maps itself. Sorry. I can certainly get there manually, but I think I clicked the wrong link on the eBird page. The get directions link is what I wanted. Here's my lat longs right there in the get directions. So I'll copy these over, make sure that you get your negative signs as needed. And of course, if you were picking some other location that you don't have an eBird hotspot to work from, just go to Google Maps, click on a spot, and you can get the lat and long just by clicking on a spot. You know, zoom in on your house or wherever you want to go, and you can find the latitude and longitude coordinates anywhere on the Earth from this. So those will work. And as for converting into an elevation, one of the ways that you can do that is by going to this link. This link works for the US. I don't know what else in terms of the rest of the world it will do. But you just have to zoom in and find your location, or enter your longitude first and latitude second. Here, I usually expect it to be the other way around. But how do I do this? Spot elevation 2, longitude, and then my latitude is this one. Pop those in and get my elevation. It says my elevation is this much, and of course I need that in meters. Thank you, USA. So I will say my elevation is 128, or maybe I should round up to 129 meters. So higher elevation than Cayuga Lake. What device am I using? These defaults are actually what I'm actually using, so I'm happy to keep those. For my station devices, I need to rename my station correctly so it's the same at the top as it is down here. So change Ithaca to whatever you want. I tend to make pretty inclusive date ranges. Not really necessarily going to continue for 10 more years, but we'll see. This guy here, we need to change directory so that from now on, eBird is working in here. So now it should say blah, 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 / your folder. And now after doing that, now we can say create super user. So now it says we need a username. My username is going to be Joe. It asks for an email address, but I'm not going to give it. I'm just going to say enter. And then for a password, I'm going to say my password is just a single number. So I just hit a keystroke for one number, and then I'm going to hit that single same number again. It says the password is too short, too common, and entirely numeric, but I don't care. It's not. I'm not concerned about security here. So I'm going to bypass password validation and create the user anyway. Cool. So I didn't fail at that step, even though it was clunky. I should not have gotten ahead of myself in the settings file. When it asks you for a username, you can make up anything. Okay, you could just have done letter A. I used a number instead. Okay. Now we're going to run a server. Vesper admin run server. Vesper _admin, run server. Whoopee. So it says that it is using a software that we can run this server out of the website. And the website is not the World Wide Web, but a local computer. So 127.0.0.1:8000. dot O dot O dot 1:8000. Boom. All right. So we're at the very beginning. It doesn't have much to show us yet, but I dive in. Let's see. Cool. Okay. So this is telling us how to set up our station information. I've already explained to you about this, and we've already done most of this. We've found a descriptive name for our location. We have found a elevation, a latitude and a longitude. We've put in Eastern annotation constraints. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this one station YAML file from our folder, and we're going to import the archive here. So we're going to say file, import metadata. And this time, I'm going to log in this way. Yeah, this is not secure, but nobody cares. And here in this box, we need to give our information. So, where's that information? It's in metadata YAML one station. And I am going to grab this one station. It's been saved and closed. And I'm going to put it in here. And hopefully it has my indigo bunting. Indeed it does. It says Kastner's twice. Where does it say Kastner's twice? It says Kastner here. And it says Kastner at the top here. Cool. So this is all good. I'm going to import it. And I can redo this. It says it's running, it's working. I reboot from time to time. Job completed. Cool, it's done. Took a minute. It's a wonderful thing. Now we go back to our instructions. What does it want us to do now? We import, we reload. Finally, it says complete. One of the things that I'm going to have to do to prepare this audio file for analysis is I need to get these all in a standardized organization, which these are almost there, but not quite. The times need to be changed to the universal time, UTC. And for me, since I'm in Eastern time, I'm after spring forward. So if I want to convert time in my local area where it's 4:34 p.m. Into UTC, it's 8:34. So I have to add 4 more hours to get to coordinated universal time. So that's something that I'm going to have to do is for all these files, I'm going to have to change them from 1900 to 4 later. So 19 plus 4 is going to be 23. And all these that are midnight are going to be 4 a.m. UTC. The good thing is these files I won't have to change the date. Fortunately, I can plus 23. If I had to jump higher, then I would also have to adjust the date. So it's just going to be a little easier that I don't have to adjust the date to get these into UTC. We need to convert to UTC, as I said. We need station name, year, month, day, with these underscores and dashes all mattering. We need to have the hour in military hours, minutes, seconds, and this underscore Z at the end. I have a set of instructions that are special for how to do a batch edit of file names. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how to do that. So I'm going to open up Windows PowerShell, and I'm going to change my directory to d:/ where I've got my files. And next, I'm going to look at one of these commands for renaming. And the first rename that I'm going to do is this code that I'm copying now, which says get any item inside this folder, and it's going to rename any spaces into zeros. And just to show you what's going to happen, I'm going to start by doing the -what-if, okay? And the -what-if says it's going to look at all these files and it's going to rename them from this thing that has a space 0, and it's going to rename it to a 00 at the beginning of each of these. So that's one step of renaming that we could possibly do. It hasn't done that yet. Why? Because I put what if for it to just think about doing it, not necessarily to really do it. But if I run that, it'll go. Actually, what I needed to do is I needed to take everywhere that has a space 0 and change that to a space 4. Remember how I said this has to change into UTC? All right, well, how am I going to do that? I'm going to have to tell PowerShell that anywhere that there is a space 0, that has to change into a 04. And now, if I what if that, any of these times that it goes from, it's one of these files that has a space 0 in it, a midnight file, it will be renamed to become a 4 a.m. UTC time file. I guess, what is it, 4 a.m. in Greenwich? I don't know how UTC works, but anyway, that's how I could rename all these files. And if I do that without the what if statement and I run it, moment of truth, be careful playing with PowerShell when you don't know what you're doing. Now this one, I want to change the 19s to 23s, but I don't want it to change December 19th or May 19th to May 23rd. So I needed to only change it when there's an underscore in front of the 19. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, anytime that there is an underscore 19, I want to replace that with an underscore 23. And I'm working quickly and dangerously, but I think it's working beautifully and it's fixing everything. Okay, so if you had files that didn't have your word at the beginning, there's instructions on how to put that word onto every single file by saying, you know, insert that word at the beginning. Another thing that I've done is I've got a bunch of files that are not good. And so I think anywhere that it says space good, I want to be replaced with nothing. So I'm going to do this as a what if. But I think this find and replace might work with a space good to be replaced with nada. So if I started with a blah, blah, blah good, The new file output will be the exact same thing without the space good in it. So I think that is safe to run. So I'll delete the what if and do it. And now the file no longer says good. I need to get rid of space white and space mostly. Because I had some that said mostly good. Got to get rid of those. And space okay. Cool. So I have a bunch of files that are now ready. I expect it'll take you longer. It sure took me longer the first time.